Hey, how's it going? I'm Kirk of Effectatron, and today we're going to cover the new Symmetry node inside of the new Maxon 2023 2.2.0. Just keep adding decimals. Yeah, 2023.2.0. All right, that's the latest update for Maxon. They added some cool new features. We're going to go over the Symmetry one today, and it's pretty cool. It's like super easy to make trippy kaleidoscopic effects. They're pretty cool. So we're going to learn how to do that, as well as create this just kind of a nice, cool, kind of grainy gradient look that's very stylized and popular right now. And it's a really cool look, and it's actually really easy to do inside of Cinema 4D as well. And we'll go ahead and cover that as well. So let's get into it. Before we dive straight in, of course, I want to do a big shout out to my patrons. I totally forgot on my last video to shout out to my patrons. So we're going a couple months back. All of my patrons, thank you for all the support, as well as all those people who have given me money and stuff on Gumroad for some of my items that were free and stuff. I really appreciate it. Even though I'm a YouTuber, I have like 16,000 subscribers, and my videos get thousands of views and stuff. I'll be straight up honest with you. I make about $150 a month on YouTube, which is not a livable income. So I'm asking for money, yes, because I want to keep giving out free content, but that's okay. You don't have to just donate stuff to me. But if you want to, that's cool. But no, I'm coming out with a workshop. It's going to be big, and it's just going to be amazing. It's basically like 10 plus weeks of intensive interactive training from Cinema 4D and Redshift. Basically, it's going to jumpstart you if you're brand new to it, or if you just want to take it to the next level. By the end of it, you're going to have this reel that you're going to also learn how to edit and put together. So I'm going to show you the whole steps, and everything is going to be very project-based and interactive. And it's not just going to be watching me plug stuff in and say, this is why I'm doing this. It's a lot of projects where you're going to be following along, and we're going to make something cool and learn about it on the way, rather than just watching me do it like out of a textbook or something like that. So it's going to be really fun. I'm really excited about it. So be on the checkout for that. So I'm really excited about that. And I really hope that sells well and does great, because I really want to keep making free content, because I think that helps. But I do have a family to support, so I would like to make some money. All right, enough of that. Let's get started. First things first, we want to open up a website that I've mentioned before in some other tutorials. And this tutorial is going to be kind of a hybrid of just new stuff, as well as referencing some of my older stuff that's like the abstract color loop. Be sure to check that out as well. But I use coolers in there, and it's just a really great place that you can explore color palettes, which is going to be key to how we do this. And the one I used in the image you saw is actually this very first most popular one right here. And all we need to do is click these three little lines, go to Export Palette, hit Image, go to Color Space, and make sure we choose None. Otherwise, that's just going to write words on the bottom of it, and we want it to be as clean as possible. So Export, we'll save that Color Palette 4, sure. All right, so we can just go ahead and just sort of shrink this down. And we'll go ahead and add a dome light. So click and drag dome light, pop that window back open, and we can just click and drag this from Google all the way into our texture map here. And boom, now we have this nice, cool HDRI that is just these colors. And if you look down, you'll see we have the words there. If we'd not turned off hex codes, there'd be words up top of this. But these aren't going to matter. If you really want to, you can go into Photoshop and just crop that out, and then it'll, touch at the bottom. But this will be fine for what we need. And we're going to kind of go over the same kind of material that we made in the color abstract loop. So I'm going to go through it a little faster in this one. And if you want to learn more about the technique and why I do what I do, be sure to check out that color abstract color loop tutorial that I have. So go ahead, open a new Redshift material, which I will show you how to create this little nice button that opens up a Redshift standard material. Inside of this material is all of my most popular and favorite nodes, as well as the bump map and displacement map already hooked up for me, because I hate having to hook those up. I feel like they should already be hooked up. So that's why I've done it. And so if you want to learn how to do this, the Mind in Motion interactive workshop will teach you how to do that. So if you may notice, it looks slightly different because they've updated Redshift as well. Best and biggest update, this little button right here, show attributes. And when you click that, it's back to the olden days of the good old shaded graph. And we have our attribute panel here inside of the same window. So rather than having to work here, and then down here, and then here, and then one down here. We could actually just like take this and put it on our side monitor again, like we used to, and just have everything all together in one spot. So super nice, super cool to use. As well as you may notice that there are some new color updates, which I'm not actually that excited about, mainly because they kind of made some creative color choices that I don't understand. And I bet there's somewhere in there that I can change the settings of these. But that basically the bump map and displacement map have this yellow band, and the backside noise and RAM map have a gray band. And it's kind of weird because the utility nodes were always purple in Redshift. That's why they have the purple connectors as well. But they've decided to change them to yellow, and all the texture and color-based nodes, which used to be yellow, which all have the yellow dots, are now gray. So it's a little confusing. I don't know why they did that, but that's beside the point. Inside of our material here, let's go ahead and just create what we're talking about. And that is inside of our Redshift center material. We're going to go down here to reflection. We're going to turn this up to 0.275. And we're going to take our IOR really, really far down, like 0.275 as well. And then we're going to go to our transmission and crank that all the way up to 1. So we're going to make this weird, trippy glass effect. And that's going to be key for reflecting our HDRI that we put across our scene. So just for reference, let's go ahead and add a torus. Pull that up. And what we can do is take our torus. And for the ring segments, we always want to do at least 64 for anything that's rotational. So now we have, kind of a smooth ring. We could also go up a little higher if we wanted to, 128, and just to really make sure that we have a nice smooth rotation. But what I want to do is for the pipe segments, I actually want to turn that down to like 4 or something like that. So we get this kind of unique, sharp angle look. And that's going to be pretty cool looking when we start messing with that and twisting it around and stuff. So what we want to do is throw this texture on there. And right now, we'll just go ahead and hit render, just so you can get an idea of what this texture is going to look like with that background. And you can see right off the bat, I mean, it looks pretty cool. Super satisfying, as well as, let's go ahead and make sure our denoiser is on for this for now. And you'll see, like, by default, I always have my denoiser on, and I do progressive renders, and then I look at it, I'm like, that's pretty cool. But when I noticed I actually turned off my denoiser, I actually really liked the way that this gradient was looking with this noise. So we're going to figure out how to create that and not use the denoiser to create this nice noisy gradient and get that cool kind of 2D stylized look. So really cool. We could take our torus here and we could rotate it up, hold shift, rotate it like 90 degrees. There we go. We'll just start with that right there. And if you ever want to, with these backgrounds and you want to like arrange things differently, you can just grab your dome light and rotate it around. You can even rotate it around so you get a different color background, stuff like that, and really change the way it looks. There we go. But we're going to start with this default one here. So what we need to do is add the very cool new Symmetry Object, which is displayed by this green button right here, this butterfly. Now, for you, it may not be right there, which it probably won't be, but it's going to be inside the subsurface division. So click and hold that, and it should be right here. But if you notice, mine's not right there, and mine wasn't there after I updated, so I was very confused. So if you are using a startup scene that you have created, it's not going to throw that in there and update it for you. You need to add it in and then resave your loadout scene. So just to make sure that you do have the update and you do have the stuff, click to one of the other presets, like the standard one. And when we click and hold the subdivision surface here, you'll see right here we have thicken and symmetry. They're actually here underneath the subdivision surface. So this is how a good way to like double check that you have it. But go back to your startup scene that you want. And what you can do is hit Shift C, which is the new commander or the search feature inside of Cinema 4D. It's pretty awesome. It searches both everything, commands, as well as things from the asset browser. So let's go ahead and just type in sim. And you'll see it brings up all of our symmetry options here. And you can see our little green and white button here. You can just click and drag that right over there. And you can do the same thing with thick as well. It's thicken with a K, and it's right here. And what that is like a quick like shell in 3ds Max. If you know, it just adds thickness to walls. I've got a video coming out with all the new updates as well as like the big Redshift updates, because there's been a lot of cool ones recently. So it's kind of a feature overview of all those things. So be sure to be on the lookout and ring that bell and stuff for when that comes out. But yeah, so grab your symmetry thing, throw it on here. Start with our torus selected. We go ahead, hold Alt and click that. And that's always going to add those green objects. Put your object inside of your green ones and make it a child of them, which is how they're going to work. So just a quick tip to do that shortcut. So now you can see what it's done is it's created this red box here. So we have a mirror image on the x-axis. Now we can come in here and add the y-axis and the z-axis as well. Now, you're not going to see anything happen right now because it's all right at the 0, 0, 0 point. But if we take our torus and we start moving it, you're going to start seeing we get some really trippy effects really quickly. Super awesome to create these really nice kaleidoscopic effects. Let's take our ring radius, our pipe radius, and turn that down just so it's a little thinner, maybe like 20. And now we can just kind of move things around, just kind of loop around itself. So yeah, just get something that looks kind of cool, how you like it. And just right off the bat, we'll go ahead and just hit render on this. And you can see already that just with this very basic shape, we're going to get this really nice, cool thing. So we're losing some of that detail because we don't have those nice round bevels because we're using a torus, but we still want it to be kind of that low poly effect. So what we could do is open up our material here, hit C, type in round. Okay, it's going to bring in round corners. If we solo this, we're going to take a look at what this looks like in the render view. You're going to see it creates these bevels across the edge of our geometry where it's like very sharp. It's actually going to soften this up. So we can come in here, click our panels button here so we can deal with it. We'll say a radius of 1 just to kind of extend that a little bit. And we'll say 12 samples, and that's just going to smooth it out a little bit and make it a little cleaner. So now what we can do is take this, plug it into our bump map, make sure that our bump map is actually set to tangent space normal. If you notice, this is all green and purple and blue. That's because it has directional data. So using the round corner nodes, plug that in. And now when we hit render on this, you're going to see that we actually have some smooth corners. And we might need to tweak that because it's a little intense. So we'll go to our bump map and just lower that down to like 0.2. There we go. So now we still are catching those highlights. We could come in an even lower, really, 0.1 if we want. And it's all based on the size and shape. But here we go. We still have these nice highlights coming in from those round corners now that rather than just like fading off and being completely 2D looking, we still have kind of that 3D effect where we have that bevel. Just by this, without adding any geometry or anything, we were just able to do that with a material. So there we go. Very cool. So now what we need to do is just kind of animate this in this cool kind of organic kaleidoscopic way. So what we can do is right click our torus, go to animation and go to vibrate tag. Now the vibrate tag is this really cool way to add multi-directional motion and control to your scene in an organic way that you don't have to keyframe. So basically what we could do is come down here to enable position. We'll say like 100, 100, and then we'll go like negative 100 and the other way. And then rotation, we could say like 480, 360, 480. We're just kind of giving it values. These are limits that says, okay, rotate it out and move it this far. It's just like the wiggle expression inside of After Effects. If you ever use that, it's like vary this much, this often. And right now the frequency is 2. If we hit play on this, you're going to see it's crazy fast, but you can see how it's working. So let's go ahead and lower that down. If we lower it down to 1, right, it's basically going to offset that much and rotate that much every 24 frames because that's our frame rate. Now, the weird thing is when you're just using a vibrate tag, by default, it's not going to loop. So that's no good because we want it to loop unless you set your frequency to 1. So right now it's going way too fast. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that it loops, and we want to make sure that we can control the speed and control where it loops. So what we want to do is we want to turn on regular pulse. So that's going to be the key to this, making sure that it loops cleanly, because regular pulse means it's going to go out and come back and go out and come back and pulse back and forth. But you're going to notice out, back, steakhouse, right? Okay, so that's obviously way too fast. So what we need to do is lower the frequency. So we're going to say we want it to be 1/10 of the speed. So we're going to say 0.1, 1/10. And now when we hit play, we get this nice smoother animation, and we can go even slower if we want. We can go 0.05, 0.05 and 0.05. There we go. So now we kind of have this nice smooth effect, and it comes out and kind of settles and comes back in. You get this nice, cool loop, right? There we go. So you might notice that since we were doing 0.05, that's 1/20th, right, of 1. So that means we need to make sure that we have 20 frames for it to loop perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 24, because we're getting 24 frames per second, times 20. And you can just do that right there. So that's 480. So now what's going to happen is we get closer to the end here, we hit play. It's going to loop very smooth, and you're never going to see it. Now, the key to a good loop is the fact that you need to back this off 1 frame, because by default at frame 480, it's exactly the same as it is on frame 0, which means when you're playing frame 0, and then that's followed by 480, or 480 is followed by frame 0, that's 2 frames that are exactly the same. So you're going to get this little hiccup where there's never 2 frames the same throughout the rest of your animation, and then you get to the end, and there are 2 frames the same. You're going to have a little, and it's going to, you want to make sure that you back this up to 478. So now there's no actual repetition of frames, so it looks like a smooth animation the whole way. So what you can do now is just come in here and start messing with numbers, jacking around. I almost said something I shouldn't have said. And then we've got this going, and you can just come in here, and if you don't like the way it's looking, just change the starting point if you want. You can just move this to like here, and then now it's going to be a totally different animation just because you changed the origin point. And obviously you can come in here and, adjust. Things could be negative here and positive here and less there. And you're just going to get a completely new, unique look and a different vibe altogether. And it's just already hypnotic. So what we can do now is just start throwing in some new shapes. So let's go ahead and add like a cone if we want. We could scale it down, maybe take a cone. Let's see, we'll do 32, maybe 64, 12 in the height. We'll do a little fillet cap. And we're just going to drag this into our symmetry node as well. And we'll just take our cone and move it around to like maybe here, maybe offset it from the start so it's not perfectly smooth. And control click drag that vibrate tag on there. And so now we just have another layer of depth. And if we want, we could probably bring this forward a bit like that, just so it's not so identical. Scale it down, bring it in, and we can always adjust it so it's slightly different, but I suggest leaving them the same. I think it flows better when they're the same. And then we'll just take this cone and move it in a little bit here. Like that. Wow, I feel like I need a sitar playing. Yep, and then we can add like a cube. Shrink it down, maybe 75, 75, 75, 10, 10, 10, fill it. And we'll take that, bring it up, maybe put it like here. Did it a bit and drop that in. And of course, throw our shader on there. And just like that. Oh, don't forget to move your animation over there, your vibrate tag. I don't like the way that cube's looking. Either put a modifier on it, maybe we'll stretch it out, take a cube, add some more segments, and like the Z will make it, the Y will make it like 500. But then we'll take a bend modifier, hold shift, put a bend on there, say fit to parent, and then start bending it like that maybe. Now we have this really bizarre, whoa. Right? And you just never know. Like, I couldn't animate this if I wanted to. But we have this really nice, cool, trippy look. And we could even come in here and take this cube and also put a twist. So hold shift and put a twist on there. Fit to parent and just start twisting that up. Maybe go even more. Now, this might be a little too much going on. I don't like that. Oof, no. But yeah, like, just, by playing around with some things. So now we throw all that stuff on there. Let's go ahead and hit render on this. I'm going to take the bend off because I don't like it. The cube off. Maybe just take the bend off and just make the cube smaller. dots. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. So let's go ahead and line up our camera and then talk about rendering this out. So Redshift camera, add that in, hit the little button so you can make sure you're looking through it. One thing that's super helpful is go down here to the display tab and check the grid and make sure you have it. Oops. Make sure you have it set to 3. You can also increase it more so you have more of a grid if you need to line things up. But 3 is a really nice way to get the golden rule, stuff like that. And you could just line this up with those axes and try to put them right in the middle. There we go. Pretty cool. So we come in here to our object coordinates and just make sure we have 0 rotation on our camera. And so now we can just middle mouse, hold Alt, and just plop it right. Cool. So you hit play, see if you like the way this is looking now. I like that. So what we can do is go to Redshift, render view, hit play. And the cool thing about this is if you want to, change the look or anything like I mentioned, you can just grab your dome light, hit R, and just rotate around, change the background, changes the entire look. Or you could add in a different gradient if you wanted to, and it completely change the look of your scene, just like that. Really easy, really basically procedural way to create all kinds of different looks, and then just, change your settings. You can just make a billion of these really quickly. So one thing I just want to do really quick is I want to actually rotate this dome light around so I have this nice blue background. And if you ever want to turn off the background or replace it or whatever, you can simply go here to the gears, and now in Redshift, there's the background tab here. This is also available inside of the Redshift camera underneath the background feature here. You can override that, which is what this does. And so now we can choose whatever color we want or the amount of alpha and stuff we want as well. So just so you know, you can do that there. We also can just come in here and turn on our LUTs and stuff if we want, and really make sure we have just some bright colors going on, brighten it all up just a little bit, which makes it look a little nicer and cartoonier. Maybe a little darker there and a little brighter, but maybe not. I kind of want it all to be kind of bright. There we go. Pretty cool. And increase that a bit. Yeah. Okay, so render time. Let's go in here. And there are 2 ways to do this. We're going to go to the Redshift tab here. And what we can do is we can either render this out with actually using progressive as the final render and not bucket, or we can also use bucket, but we just have a little less control with bucket. So what we can do is we can choose progressive, and then we can lower our progressive passes down to, say, 24 or 32 or 16 or 64. Somewhere around there, you're going to get this really nice noise. And it's really important that we have random noise pattern unchecked. And that's going to basically lock in that noise pattern. So from frame to frame, it's not going to move around, which is really going to help sell it as part of the texture and material of our scene rather than looking like we just kind of overlaid static over top of our image. So also very important to make sure you have denoising off because we want the noise. So with progressive passes here, it's going to be a little faster than bucket because we're not letting it render all the way. So basically what you see in the IPR is going to be what you see when you render because this is using progressive passes. Now, if you think it's too noisy and you want it to be a little smoother, up your passes. Now, alternatively, we can use bucket render and we can come down here to the threshold and we can type in 1 quadrillion, and it doesn't matter because it just goes up to 10. So crank it up all the way to 10 and make sure, again, random noise pattern is off, denoising is off. And we'll go ahead and make sure that we are outputting all of our frames and we have it saved somewhere where we know it's going. And we can go ahead and hit render on this. So don't get freaked out when you hit render on this and it comes in and it looks like all the colors are off. Basically what happens is it comes in and renders like this, but then as soon as that frame actually finishes, it looks like this. So the colors will look, just give it time to actually finish rendering. And then for example's sake, let's zoom in here. This is progressive at 64 passes. This is progressive at 16 passes. And this is bucket at a threshold of 10. So we still kind of have that nice grainy noise as well, but we can't really tweak it and add more like we could with progressive if we really wanted to have a more exaggerated and noise look. Okay, so progressive gives you a little more control to control that grain. Super satisfying and fun to watch. So hopefully you enjoyed and learned something. I will have a new video of upcoming features and things, as well as maybe just adding in some more content, as well as going over the tile shader and pavement shader and stuff like that with Redshift. I've been very busy working on the Mind and Motion workshop, which is coming soon. So be sure to get involved in the Discord and community and check that out as well. So the best part about this entire project, one, is you can just simply change the entire look of the scene by just taking something like this and rotating it around and moving it. And now we have a completely different look. Or swapping out objects and things like that, is the fact that we can come in here and open up and use a completely different color palette, like this green and red one. Go to our dome light. Just grab a different color palette off that website, throw it in, and now all of a sudden we have an entirely different vibe for our scene, but it still looks cool. So there we go. Now we have kind of a fruit, feels like watermelon vibe. And we can, of course, rotate this around and stuff and get a completely different feel. Very trippy. It's going to be really cool in motion. So hopefully you enjoyed this and learned something. I'm going to set that to render overnight. And see you guys next time.